Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
But first to some other news, because he's a candidate in the Stoke by-election, but did the UKIP leader Paul Nuttall break election law? He stated on his nomination form that his current home was an address in the constituency, which he admitted to this programme today he'd never even visited. Mr Nuttall can't be disqualified as a candidate before polling day, but were he to win the by-election, the result could be challenged in the courts. Our political correspondent Michael Crick is at the football ground where Stoke City are playing tonight. Michael.
Yes, and indeed they're playing Everton. But Paul Nuttall, of course, is a Liverpool supporter. Indeed, he lives on Merseyside. Now, these days, politicians, when they stand for parliamentary election, they don't actually have to put their specific address on the nomination paper or the ballot paper. They're allowed, if they're worried about security and terrorism and so on, they're allowed to put something more general along the lines of he lives in the county of Staffordshire or in Merseyside. But Paul Nuttall, remarkably, in this election, has decided that he is going to put a specific address here in Stoke-on-Trent. And presumably in order to impress the voters of Stoke that he's a local man and he lives locally. Now, Mr Nuttall could be in big trouble on this. He can't actually be disqualified between now and the date of the election on February the 23rd. The election has to go ahead with his name on the ballot paper. But if he was to win this election, then the result could well be challenged by one of the other parties on the grounds that he perhaps made a false declaration. This is the extraordinary story. A terraced home in Stoke-on-Trent, which currently has agents trying to let it. Peer through the windows and the house looks totally empty. Not a stick of furniture in sight. Yet UKIP leader Paul Nuttall gives this house as his home address on his nomination form for the Stoke by-election, and it'll appear on ballot papers. Have you seen Mr Nuttall here?
I haven't, no.
Have you seen anybody here?
Once. A viewing, that was it.
Right, and so what sort of state's the house in?
It's okay, yeah. It's been painted and whatnot, but...
Is there any sign of life there, though?
No, definitely not.
It's empty?
It's empty. Oh, I think it's empty. Just empty property. I think it's up to rent, to be honest.
Well, I suppose it's possible he's living on a camp bed or something upstairs.
Yeah, he could be. Give him a knock.
But it says on your nomination form that you're living at 65 Oxford Street.
Yes, and I will be. I'm not now.
You're not
but
now?
I will. No, at the present moment in time, but I will be. I'll be going in there and I'll be there for the rest of the campaign.
Hang on a moment. You meant to put on the nomination form your home.
Yes.
That's not your home, is it? 65
Well,
Oxford Street.
it will be for the rest
it's
of the.
empty.
It will be for the rest of the campaign.
But it's
okay?
meant to be your home.
It's not empty. It's not empty. People are in it now.
The law says that when you sign the nomination form, you're meant to put down your home at the time of the nomination form. That wasn't your home. Your home, as far as I'm aware, is Bootle or somewhere.
Yes.
So you put down the wrong thing on the nomination form.
No, I haven't. I'll be in there and I'll be there for the rest of the campaign.
Why put 65 Oxford Street down on the nomination form? Isn't that a deception?
No, I don't think it is.
You live in Bootle.
No, I don't think it is, because by the time people will vote, we're in the process of moving in there now. By the time people vote, I'll be in there.
What are you going to do if somebody makes a complaint?
About what?
About your false declaration.
It's not a false declaration, sir.
It is, because it's not your home.
No, it's not. It will.
Have you ever been to 65 Oxford Street?
It's not a false declaration at all, okay?
Have you ever been to 65 Oxford Street?
No, I haven't. People are moving in for me.
You haven't even been there, and you put that down as your home.
I've been knocking on doors, or as you know, all over the town.
And so you haven't even been to 65 Oxford Street, and you've put it on the nomination
People
form
are in
as
the
your
process
home.
of moving us in, okay?
In a Stoke workshop, the careful finishing touches to a brand new pottery model called May Brexitania. The potteries voted 70% Brexit last year, and few seats look better for UKIP than Stoke-on-Trent Central in this by-election.
What do you think is going to happen in this by-election?
I think UKIP are going to walk in.
Really? Why?
Because the mood in Stoke is that the biggest majority of people voted to leave the EU, and I would think they're singing the right tunes.
A sign of the mood here. Many on the street seem excited by the new, authentic leader. Not Nuttall, but Trump.
Well, I'm telling you that we need a Trump for this country because it's got out of hand.
A Trump for this country?
Mr. Trump, somebody like that, and I think he's involved with him. I'm not sure. Nuttall's with him, isn't he?
Never heard of him.
Nigel Farage, isn't he?
No, it's Paul Nuttall now. He's standing in this constituency.
Just switch from one to another. They're all jokers, a lot of them. Donald Trump, just let him rule everything. He's going the right way.
So you think he should become Prime Minister of Britain as well as President
everywhere.
of America?
Well, he's doing the right thing, and he's stopping terrorism and that, isn't he?
Paul Nuttall won the UKIP leadership, pledging to win over working-class Labour voters fed up with middle-class London leaders.
It's been described as the capital of Brexit. Let's make it the capital of change, because I tell you, if UKIP win this seat on February the 23rd, it could create a domino effect and we could go on and change British politics.
Labour are in big trouble. Their candidate, Gareth Snell, was a strong Remainer, but last week said this about how he'd have voted in tonight's debate.
There's a vote in Parliament next week of a second reading to trigger Article 50. If I was there, I'd be voting for that.
We've been trying to film with the Labour candidate, Gareth Snell, since 10 o'clock yesterday morning. Time and again, Labour officials have put us off. One of them told us he didn't like the idea of us going out canvassing with Mr. Snell because he didn't want a Gillian Duffy moment, a reference to the famous incident in 2010 where Gordon Brown was confronted by an angry member of the public on immigration. And certainly Gareth Snell has said some pretty controversial things in recent months on social media.
He called Jeremy Corbyn an IRA-supporting friend of Hamas and called Brexit a massive pile of excrement, or a word to that effect. Their man, also elusive these 2 days, backed Remain too.
Yes, I voted to Remain, but I think the government has been very clear that this is about, we're all Brexiteers now, and I think the government has been clear that this is about ensuring that we have a clear plan.
The Lib Dem vote dropped to barely 4% in 2015, but amazingly, their man's fighting again, now as the pro-single market candidate.
They all basically become Brexiters now, and they all are hell-bent to have a hard Brexit, which is going to affect trade and economy and jobs in this country, and that's what I'm standing against.
It's a campaign dominated so far by people not being where you'd expect them. Two main contenders, barely visible, another not visible, where he calls home.
Well, a couple of hours after my confrontation with Mr. Nuttall about where he is or isn't living, UKIP rang me to say that now, this afternoon, he actually moved into that empty house and he's actually taken some bedding with him. But that doesn't really matter legally. It's too late. It's where he was living at the time of nomination that matters.
Thanks, Michael. And here is a list of all the candidates standing in the by-election later this month.
I've been getting